Lived in Australia. Which part of Australia do you live in?
I lived in Sydney.
Sydney. I like Sydney. I like Sydney. Very, very rat racish, and they've got
Yeah.
roads like someone who made up a Lego land. It's crazy driving there. I can see why he left.
Yeah.
I do like it. I've got a lot of great friends up there, but I don't think I can live there. It'll drive me insane. I live in Melbourne, and that's just as bad. We've got bad. It's supposed to be summer, and I'm looking out. It's the middle of winter. Looks like the middle of winter over here, but we won't go there. Um, it's supposed to be 40 degrees here, and it's like 16. Ridiculous. Anyway,
Wow.
yeah, it's crap. Excuse the language, but it's crap. Um, we're off here talking about you probably get a lot of questions, especially being out of what you're doing, and you get a lot of people coming to you. I'm sure they go, "How do I do this?" How it's like a new toy to them. They love playing in this stuff or love looking at, which is very nice. Don't get me wrong, but it is um, a serious connection that we do have. And so, do you have a lot of people doing that? Do you go to like? I guess you do a lot of fairs and all those kind of things. Do you have a lot of people who like just random people happy go? Oh, I want to play in this. I want to play in that. And yeah, how do you cope with all those things?
Yeah, I do. So I was just at a Dr. Joe event in December in Mexico and Cancun, and I met a few people that were like, I want to be able to have a mystical experience. I want to have those kind of connections, whether it's getting messages or channeling beings. And it's really great. I at one point I wanted that too, obviously, but it's got to be for the right reasons. And I've been pulled up on my ego a few times by beings where
Oh,
they've been
really?
like, yeah, like this isn't to show off. This isn't to show like you're special or you're better than other people because you can do something they can't do. And I've been pulled up a lot on that. Like,
Oh,
not to say like I'm an egoic person or anything, but they'll question my intentions when I want to do something. They'll be like,
okay. So
what are you doing
that's
this for?
that's really interesting. We don't do, and with pure heart, we don't do these things to show. Well, we don't. I know I don't. But
Mm.
you have to. I guess it's like what my boss Diamond Dallas Page says: check your ego at the door, and you've really got to. It's not a bad thing. We're not doing anything intentional, but they just tell us, okay, hang on, you're sort of going out of that balance. I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah, so I never put this on anyone, and I know very well from my own experience that I wasn't like gifted in childhood or something. Like this is
Mm.
something that I just had an interest in and I followed that interest for myself. I've been doing this for a long time before I wanted to do channelings for other people. And one thing I would say is when you do readings for other people, it can be quite hard because I'm not going to necessarily give you what you want to hear, it's what you need to hear. And sometimes it's like a bitter pill, right? Like it's
Yeah,
tough.
yeah.
Some of the news that messages I need to give people.
Yeah, do you
So
find that because I mean when you go through the time when when we were younger, um, you know, psychics will tell you when you're going to win the lotto, when you're going to do this, when you're going to. But when you understand the world, the spirit world, and how it works, as you said, ego. It's not about being a millionaire and all that stuff. There is destiny in what you want to do, but they just don't realize that we can't just. We're not magicians. We're actually giving you information, and some people can't handle that.
yeah, and it happens sometimes in a reading. And my teachers always say to me, some people can't have it. Maybe they can't have it today, but maybe they can have it a year from now. Maybe what you said a year from now will click with them and they'll be like,
Yes,
because they
yes.
like it, they're like, this doesn't resonate with me at all. And I'm like, that's okay. Because one thing I learned in my training was I mustn't seek external validation. So if I give a reading for you, I'm not going to ask you if it resonated with you because then I'm looking for validation. The message is the
That's a
message, whether you can
wow.
receive it or not.
Okay. I'll take that. I'm going to take that out. That's probably the most important piece of information that you don't really realize what you're doing. Looking for, and you might be doing that because of the dark night of the soul, the shadow. And I've always turned things around to myself and understand there's a lesson in that. That resonated with me the most today. What you just said.
But it resonated with me the most as a piece of life advice is to stop looking for external validation
Yep.
and listen to what's inside.
Yep.
So I'm just sharing that because, part of doing this work is that you will come up against yourself. You will experience things that stretch you beyond your comfort
Excuse me.
zone. You will experience things that you probably can't talk about with to anyone else because they won't understand at
Mm.
all. And it can be isolating. So it's not like I just like to make sure, there's a balanced view of what the experience is like. But what I say to people is that you're doing it for the right intentions. And kind of what I said at the beginning is that you really have to learn how to trust yourself that what you're hearing is accurate, because the more you trust yourself and what's coming through,
Yep.
the more clearer of a channel you will become.
I'm sorry. So just one thing that's come to me. Here we go. They're probably telling me to
Yeah.
ask you. Trusting yourself with the visions. I mean, I get these weird. Oh, look. I know. I just basically write them down now. I try to work out what they mean to me. In a low way. I don't force. I just thought you got to know what's going on, but you got to write it down and have an understanding. If it doesn't resonate, you not let it go. You just go right out. That's for that. Do you have those kind of moments where you just have, excuse me, things come through? Do you write them down? What a bit of advice for people who are going through what we're doing now?
Yeah. So how to know, okay, so how to know when it's you and your ego mind and when it's actually a channeled message. I'll explain that. The first part of it is that you get messages that to us do not seem logical, do not fit with our intellectual models, and don't really mean anything.
Okay.
They may not mean anything in this moment, but 2 months down the line, they click in.
Yep.
Also, when you receive a channeled message, it can hit you on so many different levels. So when I connected with my aunt, one of the things she managed to say to me before I pulled out was, none of this matters. And that hit so many different levels. None of this matters, as in matter doesn't matter because we're all energy. None of this matters because it's an illusion. None of this matters, don't be attached to outcomes. I can go on. Like it just hits so many different levels. And over the
Amazing.
years,
Yep.
I've received different messages from that one sentence.
Yep.
That's a channeled message.
Yep.
Things that you think are strange, and my guides have said to me, don't ever use the word weird or strange because it has what do they say? Like it has judgment attached to it. Just use the word unusual. It's just not
Oh,
usual to
okay.
you.
Oh, okay. Right.
It's unusual.
So weird's more like a 3D word, and then we've got it's an unusual thing. But then I think when we practice samadhi, when you watch it, is just go, okay, this is why it is. I always use the term, it, it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
I watched a video where someone basically said, oh, don't say that because people don't know what they are, and they just, but we're accepting for what things are in that way, we're accepting that. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, you just accept it, even if it's something that's unusual for you, like not something that you can explain or justify. Or the other thing is that when a message comes into you that's channeled, it comes in instantly. It just pops in. Like, and we have this all the time, when suddenly the penny drops, you have like an aha moment, or suddenly this idea comes in. That is a channeled message. We're all channeling anyway. It's just becoming conscious of it. It's like, when you need to make a decision and you want to use your gut, it has to be the first answer that comes to your mind, not something where you've gone back and forth. Because then
I
that's your
heard
ego.
that with my friend Ira in Peru. She said the same thing. You got to go
Yeah.
with your first thought. That might not resonate with you in a lot of ways, but it's your intuition talking. Then my understanding of it is you take that information, you go, right, that's your first thought. It's like going left or right. You go left and then you deal with what's happening left, if you get where I'm going. If that makes sense? So you make the decision to
Yeah.
go left or right. All right. So consciously you go, right, okay, I'm going left. You don't even think about it, because if you start thinking, because when you're at the point and you're here, your ego steps in. Oh, I go right because. Oh, I go left because. I actually go right, and then whatever happens right, we make the conscious decision. Then we can start. It starts coming in. If that does that make sense? That's where I
Yeah.
understand intuition.
Yeah, exactly. So the intuition, like, I don't know if you know Bashar, but he basically says your intuition is
Uh,
like, or your higher self is like you standing, the part of you that's non-physical, that's standing on the mountaintop, and our physical body is like on the road. And
mm,
logically to us, it says go right. That's the shortest route to our destination. But the
yep.
higher self sees from the top that if you went right, the bridge is out. You go left is like twice the distance, but you get there quicker. So it can defy logic from what we can see on the ground, because we don't have the full picture that our higher self has, because it's on the mountaintop and it can see everything. So listening to intuition is when you get that gut sense of, I need to do this. And this is how I recommend people practice this, because the more you practice this, the more you're going to be able to channel, because you're just constantly letting the intuition kick in. But like have a day, like a Saturday when you're on your own and go, what is my highest excitement? Is to go for coffee. Okay, higher self, tell me which coffee shop. I'm in a new city. I don't know this place. And it will just guide you to one. And then you just go there. You know,
Wow.
that's when I have the best coffees. That's when I have the best meals. When I go, like, show me. I want to be guided today. All my decisions are going to be guided. I'm not going to egoically decide anything. I'm just going to see how I feel. What do I feel like doing? And then do it and then see where it takes you.